Coach talked about the fact that you guys didn't make enough of the extra pass. Times did you see a lot of that?
Yeah, I thought it was even more so just we didn't work hard enough for that second or third look. There were times where they close out hard on the corner and we make an extra drive, and then we get everybody kind of crowded in the area instead of kind of getting out for that, re-spacing and swing type action. That's what you're gonna have to do against them. They're a very good defensive team, and they load up really well. They help each other really well. So we have to move them around, and in order to do that, we have to move our body and make the right reads.
Was that related to the three-point shooting? Could you put your finger on what that was?
There's a correlation, but I think ultimately we have to make our shots up. We're getting decent to good looks a lot of the time, but there's a difference in a good rhythm shot and when somebody's supposed to get that shot into you get those swing and you feel the energy within that play, and we weren't getting enough of those. We were getting decent ones, but it was kind of out of broken situations or late read or off time a little bit. So stuff that we can improve on.
How do you get those? What do you need to do to generate those type of three-point looks?
Well, like I said earlier, I think it stems from us working for those a little bit harder. The driving kick is going to be there. The easy plays are going to be there. We have to make them on time. We have to, not settle for that first shot every time. Not settle for, the ISOs. We have to settle. We have to continue to work for it. Drive it one more time. Crack the paint. Make them, rotate one more time. Throw it to the guy up top. Let him make another play. Maybe another drive. Like it requires a little bit more energy, and we just couldn't find that.
You guys bounced back well after Game 2 of the Lakers series. How do you expect to bounce back from a performance like this?
I expect a response. We all felt like we played about as bad as we could. Give them credit, but we weren't there all the way. A lot of mental errors, a lot of mental mistakes, and a lot of things that we know we can change and get better at. So I think we'll be ready.
How are they different without Curry, obviously, which will be the next question how are they different as a team playing against?
I think everybody's live. Everybody that comes in the game is looking to make plays, and so you have to be almost even more so, locked in on who's in the game and who you're matched up with and their tendencies, and because they're not looking for just Curry. Obviously, Buddy's going to be more aggressive. Jimmy's going to be more aggressive, but they got guys that can really put the ball in the hole, and they're going to try to do that, collectively as a group.
Chris had mentioned before the game that he felt that you guys were ready to play. Where was maybe in your mind the disconnect from how he felt you guys were ready to go, and it just didn't formulate?
I really think it was almost too juiced up. It felt like guys were moving too fast. They were throwing the ball too hard. It had too much energy, just too much into the game, too much juice almost, and we wore ourselves out. The adrenaline, whatever it was, and you could just tell guys were making plays as if we were tired. Just throwing the ball off of people's legs, dribbling out of bounds, or 3-on-1s, turning it over, like stuff like that. Just let me know that we weren't there mentally, in those times, and we just can't afford to do that this late in the season.
Frankly, Mike, it's been a long time since you guys have played an elite defense. Is it a little jarring? Does it take a second to get used to?
Well, yeah, it's going to be adjustments made, obviously, but when you play an elite defense like this, it brings you back to like the ABCs of basketball. Like the little things matter more. You're not just gonna pick a matchup and ISO and get something out of it. Like you have to move it 2 and 3 times. You have to cut. You have to space correctly. Like all those things matter, and we just didn't have that tonight.
How would you rate your play on the other side of the ball, defensively?
I thought we showed a lot there for the majority of the game. We were really guarding. We were really playing the right way. We were defending. I mean, we had a couple shot clock violations, but we really guarded really hard. There was some missteps here and there where we let guys get off the hook and got out in transition. I think that's where we're going to be looking at the film a lot, where they were throwing the ball overhead and we were a man down and nobody was able to rotate to the final guy and they got an open look. So we probably think that they're going to continue to do that and try to use that pace against us, so we have to continue to get back on defense. I think that's the biggest part.
seemed to slip a little bit when you guys started to make shots. That all of a sudden your defense, I mean, that's kind of natural human nature, I guess, but third quarter, it began to loosen a little.
Yeah, you know, and it's tough when you're down. You know, you have to almost be perfect to get back in the game, and you know, we were given so much energy, you know, defensively early, and our offense was stagnant, and then it flipped. It was tough for us to maintain it, and but like I said, sometimes stuff is necessary, and you have to try to figure it out no matter what. And, ultimately, we have to be better at that, you know, going forward.
Mike, some of those out-of-timeout conversations you and Ant have, how have those evolved over time, or have they, and in what ways?
You know, really, they've from day one to now, it's been, you know, pretty status quo. Like I tell him what I think he needs to do. I tell him, you know, to look for certain situations and how they're about to play him, and try to get his mind right for that next play or for the, you know, the concepts that he's about to see. And you know, he goes out there and tries to execute it. Like tonight, I thought, you know, he did a good job of getting downhill and making the right reads. He just wasn't finishing. You know, things weren't going his way early, and you know, I can't expect that to happen, you know, going forward. But he's been really good out of timeouts, just listening and being able to kind of comprehend everything.
It sounds like they're not expecting Steph, at least on Thursday. Does tonight's game erase any doubt of your mind of underestimating them, or is that something you have to talk about?
We definitely don't underestimate them at all. You know, that's a championship team over there. They, you know, they are guys with 4 rings over there. You know, coaches with 4 rings. Like, there's no underestimation going on here. They came in and they beat us, and we have to respond. So that's basically where we're at.